this is Chris the Nightmare Ariola, and you're watching Mission Boxing Today on YouTube.
Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? So I just want to give my assessment of what I've seen from Trey Lippe Morrison in the Ed Latimore fight, the first round stoppage victory. Now I did a post-fight video, and remember, on my post-fight videos, it's not a career breakdown video. It's literally just a 2-minute, 3-minute video about what I saw from the fight, and that was a short fight, so I really didn't get to touch on a lot of things. After that fight, I went back and watched a few more. Well, I watched all the fights before of Trey Lippe Morrison, but then I went back and watched them again. And I'm going to stand corrected, man. On my videos, I've been saying that I think his left hook is his best punch. And somebody in the comment section was like, no, it's his right hand. And, you know, I'll admit, you know, when I have a change of heart, I change my mind, or I have to go back and watch it again. And I believe that his best punch is his right hand. The reason why I just think his left hook is his best punch, maybe I'm just thinking too much of his father. You know, maybe I'm guilty of that. But also just when I see him throw that left hook, he throws it in a combination that I like. He'll go left hook to the body, then left hook to the ribs. Kind of reminiscent of what Mike Tyson used to do when he used to shoot that double hook. You know, where he'll hook you to the ribs and then he'll shoot a uppercut upstairs. Whereas Trey likes to hook you to the ribs, the side of the ribs, and hook you to the side of the face. So if I had to do it again, I guess I would say I think that's his best combination when he throws it. It's just fluid and it's fast, and I like that. I like that he starts with a body shot. But I do believe his power punch is his right hand, and not just because of the Ed Latimore fight. Well, it was the Ed Latimore fight coupled with the fact that I went back and watched his fights again. But I do like his left hook. But to me, that's a good problem, right? I think his best punch is his left hook. But realistically, I think it's his right hand. That's the punch that he's putting people to sleep with, and he's hurting them, and they're falling, and their legs are doing weird things. All right. So yes, I think his right hand is his best punch, but I think the combination that I like the most that I see him throw, and I think it's a good combination, is the double left hook. All right, now this was on Showbox. It was his first nationally televised fight. He passed with flying colors. Now, when you're looking at the heavyweight division in its totality, of course, this isn't a huge win for the division. No, but on a prospect level, here in the U.S., these were two of the better prospects. Now, there are others out there, and I'm not talking about Charles Martin, Dominic Brazil, Gerald Washington, Jarrell Miller. I'm not talking about those set of guys who are, you know, got title shots. Martin held on to a title. Miller's rated by all 4 sanctioning bodies. Gerald Washington's he's rated. Trevor Bryan's rated by a sanctioning body. I'm not talking about those prospects, those guys. I'm talking about the other set of prospects, like the John Wesley No Fires, who lost to Joey Abel. He got knocked out. Now it was a bloody fight for him, but he's 19-1 now. I'm talking about guys like Cassius Chaney, who's 7-0. Nick Asbury, who's 9-0. Both Nick Asbury and Cassius Chaney were part of that group, those sparring partners that helped Tyson Fury prepare for his first fight with Vladimir Klitschko. Those were the set of guys that got him ready, along with Huey Fury and Young Fury. I'm talking about Adam Konaski, who's 14-0, the Polish kid out of that fights out of New York. LaRon Mitchell, who's 14-0 and 13 knockouts. He was 13-0 with 13 knockouts, and he fought Mario Heredia, who isn't a bad fighter himself. I would like to see Mario get into some shape, man, and get his weight down. And because what I saw him in the World Series of Boxing, I like what I've seen from Mario Heredia. You know, he has some losses, you know what I mean, but he pushed LaRon Mitchell the distance. But LaRon Mitchell won the fight. He's 14-0. All right, so I'm talking about like those set of guys, and to me, Trey Lippe Morrison is obviously, he beat another undefeated prospect. So to me, I will rate him higher than those guys as far as, you know, who he's fought. But to me, he's not yet quite on the level of Miller and Brazil and those guys. Now, I'm saying, I don't know what happened in those fights, but he came in, Morrison, or Trey Lippe Morrison, came in less in this fight as far as his weight. He's usually between 225 and 230. Came in at 221. And to me, I like that. You know, I like the fact that he came in at 221 because he's been with Freddie Roach for what? I believe 2 fights now. Don't quote me, but I believe Freddie's only had him for just a little bit. And I think he's only been with him for about 2 fights. So to me, he's showing his commitment to not only himself, but to Freddie, you know, because Freddie could train whoever he wants, man. Freddie has guys that are world champions. You know, Manny's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. You know what I mean? So, and then just the guys who he's worked with in the past, he's learned from Eddie Futch. You know, he's worked with Tyson, James Toney. I mean, a lot of these guys were already who they were in their career, but Freddie can train anybody he wants. And for him to take the time out with Trey, I think Trey is showing his commitment also by not just winning fights, but being in supreme shape. And sometimes that's hard for heavyweights to do, to stay in shape. So that's why I think he came in a little bit low. I think he's just in the gym grinding, man, just grinding it out. And he, you know, 221 was the weight that, you know, was his ending weight before the weigh-in. But, you know, I was impressed with the Ed Latimore win. You know, Ed Latimore, again, he was a up-and-coming prospect. Another guy I wanted to give some credit to is Alexis Santos. He's another one. I think he's 16 or 15-1, and I know his one loss, he revenged it. But Ed Latimore, though, he was 13-0 with 7 knockouts. Tough kid, or tough guy. Call him a kid, but he's a tough guy, tough man. You know, and he's had amateur background. You know, he's fought Charles Martin and Dominic Brazil, and he was a part of that All-American heavyweight camp out there in Carson, California, where they bring guys in and athletes from all across the country and try to spit out some good, you know, American heavyweights. They sent Dominic Brazil to the Olympics. Well, he earned it. They didn't send him there. He earned his spot on the Olympic team, but it all started with the All-American heavyweight camp. It's the same thing that Ed Latimore was a part of that, you know, and he has some wins over those guys in the amateurs, so he has experience. Trey Lippe Morrison has no experience, but one thing he does has is his father's genes. He does, you know. The guy was a Division I defensive end. He played at a small Division I college. He played defensive end for 3 years, so he's used to physicality of athletics, and you know he does have some athleticism, you know, and some strength, and he's an athlete, you know. So, but then you couple that with his father's genes, there could be something there, and he has extremely heavy hands, man. That's one thing. All right. Now people say, "Oh, I wasn't impressed by him. His head was there to be hit." And like I always say, man, okay, there are some things there that can be exploited, but that's with every fighter. I always tell people this. Who are these perfect heavyweights that you guys are looking at these days? Everybody has something that you can say, okay, you know what, that could be exploited. Or you know what, that right there is a weakness. Or you know what, that can be taken advantage of. That's everybody, from the Deontay Wilders to the Luis Ortiz to the Tyson Fury to the Klitschko's to the Povetkin's. Everybody has something where you can look at as the opposing trainer and say, you know what, we need to take advantage of that. You know? Now, with that said, that doesn't guarantee that Trey Lippe Morrison is going to be a heavyweight champion. But I do like what I see. I like that he has a nice following down there in Oklahoma. At that venue that they were at, that I believe it was a casino they fought at, they had signs up, and you know, he had that place going pretty crazy for how small it was, cheering them on. And it wasn't even the main event. You know what I mean? So that was pretty impressive. Teddy's, or not, I was going to say Teddy Ellis, but I mean to say Freddie Roach was saying that he wants Morrison to box a little bit more. He wants to teach him how to box a little bit more. I thought he was moving his head pretty decent in the fight with Latimore, but he was still getting tagged. Latimore was landing some nice jabs. He was starting to find a good home for that left hook he was throwing. He was kind of slapping it a little bit, but he was landing on Morrison. And what caught my eye with Morrison when he knocked down Latimore is, if you notice, Latimore landed a right uppercut, left hook combination, and then threw a jab out there. Then he brung his jab hand back low because he was carrying that left hand very low. Morrison came over the top of that jab, boom, with a short, straight right hand that put him down. And he never really regrouped after that. I was surprised. Well, the reason why, it wasn't the punch itself, the power itself, which was impressive, but it was the fact that he got hit before he threw that right hand. He got hit with 3 punches. He took him pretty well. Now, Ed Latimore doesn't hit like Luis Ortiz, but the fact that Trey didn't get discombobulated or get thrown off, or it hampered his offensive momentum, that he kind of, you know, took the punch a little bit, kind of rolled with it, and then came back with his shot. And he was taking Ed Latimore's punches pretty well. You know, he didn't get, like I said, and he was getting hit clean. Like, Ed was landing some clean, hard punches on him, man. People were saying that, oh, Ed Latimore was tailor-made for him. I was reading that in the comments section. It's like, well, yeah, looking at it now, yeah. But going into the fight, the reason why I thought it was so 50-50, because if you look at Ed Latimore, along with the amateur experience, you look at his, and when I say amateur experience, I mean, he had like, I think 50 or 60 fights. And not like he had 400 fights. You know, this isn't a Lomachenko situation or Guillermo Rigondeaux situation or Golovkin where they had 300-400 amateur fights. But he had plenty, whereas Trey had 0. You know what I mean? But I like the fact that, like I said, Trey was able to take a punch and come back with his own punches, and he was able to deliver the knockout, the right hand. And he, you know, and his punches didn't seem so telegraphed. So I can tell that him working with Teddy, you know, has shown in this fight. I think it showed itself in this fight. You know, he wasn't cocking his right hand back, you know, all the way back, making it so predictable. No, he kept a nice, tight, high guard, and he likes to work out of that. Now, I think it's going to be interesting to see how he deals with somebody that has a long reach, that can keep him on the outside of their jab, and they can land a right hand behind it to keep him honest. You know, but like I say, every heavyweight's going to have something that's, you know, that's going to probably hamper their offense. But I think with his, I think somebody with the jab, and they can keep him on the outside for a little bit. But hey, man, maybe Teddy can teach him to get past the jab, because he was bobbing and weaving, the little side to side bobbing and weaving type of thing. He was doing that. So it's not like his head is just completely stationary. I mean, he is trying to move it to the best of his ability. It does seem like the kid can take a nice punch. Again, Latimore's in the huge knockout puncher. But that's what I wanted to get to, is people saying that Latimore was tailor-made for him. It's like, yeah, because usually if you have a huge power puncher against somebody that is or just a solid heavy-handed power puncher against somebody that's more of a, likes to put up a high work rate, get inside your chest, let body shots go the way Latimore. The reason why I thought it was 50-50 was because I thought when Latimore tries to do that attack, that type of attack on Morrison, I thought that Morrison will probably, you know, get rattled a little bit, you know, and I thought the fight will go the distance. And when I say rattled, not necessarily he gets beat, but just rattled a little bit, doesn't do his normal thing. He's not as aggressive. Maybe he's having second thoughts or second guessing himself. You know what I mean? And he didn't. He stayed right there, man. He landed. Latimore wanted a fast-paced, rough and tough fight. Morrison gave it to him. You know, so that's one thing, man. That's one thing about heavyweights, man. You can't teach certain things, right? You can't teach a heavyweight to be 6'6", right? You can't teach a heavyweight to have 84-inch reach, right? You can't teach a heavyweight to, there's a lot of things you can't teach them, right? Some things they're just born with. Heavy hands is something that you just have. I know there's, you know, trainers have different methods and ways of, to get you to punch harder, but just in my beliefs, I believe that you're born with it, man. So yeah, looking at it in hindsight, yeah, Latimore was tailor-made for Morrison. But just breaking down the footage and just the tapes before the fight, I was thinking to myself, like, man, Latimore is a committed body puncher. You know what I mean? For at this level, I'm not saying at the world-class level, just at this prospect level, prospects fighting each other, trying to build their way up. He's a pretty decent fighter on the attack as far as going to the body. And Morrison made him pay by getting close. You know, and the way he was positioning his body, the way Latimore was kind of leaning down over to his right, trying to stick the jab out, kind of a la Rocky Marciano a little bit, trying to fight out of that style. He was right in line for a right hand. Right over that low left-handed he was carrying, and then leaning back like that. Trey took advantage of it. And that's smart. He noticed that. Then Trey also knocked Latimore down with a left hand. That's what I'm saying. Both his hands are pretty heavy. So if a kid that has the genes, you know, his father was a damn good fighter in the 90s. Yes, I know he had his ups and downs. Okay, I'm not saying he was perfect, but he did, you know, win a world title, and his father, you know, was a formidable contender back in the 90s. Starred in Rocky, you know, that added to his fame and popularity. But I also think Trey being around, you know, and when I say white heavyweights, I'm not talking about Klitschko, Fury. I'm talking about American-born heavyweights, regardless of their descent. Just a white guy from America that was born in America. We don't have any of those. I think Joe Messi, I'm sorry, he ended his career early in the 2000s. During the, you know, when he was coming up, he had to retire. He was the last American-born white heavyweight that I remember making some noise, and then the last dominant one, in my opinion, was Tommy Morrison. You know, so Trey being around can add to some more excitement to the division. You know, and I think and whether we like it or not, it will stick out that he is a American white heavyweight that's doing it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you know, and that always happens in sports, right? You know, Jeremy Lin a few years back when he was playing for the Knicks, he had like what did he have, like a 8-10 game or 8 or 9 game streak when he was lighting it up for the Knicks. I think Carmelo Anthony was sitting out, and he was able to go in there and, you know, put up shots and get his numbers, and everybody was just like, whoa, look at this, you know, because it was Jeremy Lin. We're not used to seeing that, you know what I mean? You know, we're not used to seeing a Chinese, you know, although he was born here in America. I believe he was born in America, but I know he went to Harvard. But, you know, we were not used to seeing a Chinese point guard go out there and light it up like that. Even if it was for, you know, the 10 games and they start calling it Linsanity, it wasn't the numbers he was putting up. We've seen players that, you know, exceed those numbers by a long shot, but it was just the fact that he was a Chinese point guard doing it. It added to the intrigue, it added to the suspense and the excitement of it. And I would think that would be the same way in this situation. But regardless of that, though, of color and nationality, I do think that Morrison, or Trey Lippe Morrison, is a good prospect. He has heavy hands, and I want to see him keep building. I'm sure that Showtime is going to keep this, you know, they're thinking about it, and they're going to have him on the show again. You know what I mean, on that Showbox series. And he keeps winning. He'll headline a Showbox series, and then he's a part of Showtime. You know, Showtime, you got some Heyman heavyweights on Showtime. And they can keep building them up. Then maybe we'll see him in there with a Joey Abel type of fighter, or maybe a Joey Dweko type of fighter. Somebody like that, like a Fred Cassie down the road. Somebody like that to see where he's at in his career. But I like what I see. I like the addition of Trey Lippe Morrison to the pack of prospects that I always talk about. So I want to see him build. I want to see him get better. I think he's good for the division as far as at the prospect level, working his way up. And we have some good prospects out there, man. I've named them throughout this video. So, and there's a few more that I didn't name. I'm just talking about the American prospects. I'm not talking about everywhere else right now. I'm just focused on the American prospect heavyweight scene right now on this particular video. But I like what I see. The kid has heavy hands. I like these knockouts, but I just want to see more of what Freddie Roach is working on with Trey, as far as boxing a little bit more, using a jab, setting up that right hand, and setting up his other combinations and power shots. I want to see what Freddie does with Trey, man. I want to see how this team works out between them. But just my opinion on Trey Lippe Morrison. I'm out.